Aloha. Nice to see everybody. Thank you so much for coming. And Sheila, I really want to thank you for this opportunity. It's taken us a year, but I am so excited and thrilled to be a part of Conscious Awakening Network and to do this amazing day with 7 amazing near-death experiencers. So with that, why don't we go ahead and get started? And our first speaker is going to be Branden Densmore. After his near-death experience from a heroin overdose in 2014, Branden was called by Spirit to create life-transforming opportunities for heart-centered individuals to fearlessly manifest their dreams while having fun. Branden is a certified spiritual coach, business consultant, digital products creator, and CEO of Gathered Minds LLC. Branden, why don't you come on and share? What I'd like to hear is a little bit about who you were before, and then about your experience and how it has changed you since.
Okay. Hey, everyone. Branden here, and I apologize. I'm a little bit sick, but I wanted to make sure I was here anyways. So I might have to take a break for a second, but it all started, I think, really when I was sexually molested at 8 years old. It crushed me. It hurt my self-esteem. It caused me to question all of reality. And it was a lot to process as a kid, being sexually molested. You go from living in a universe that you think is that people, have your best interests in mind and people are there for you to help you. And then all of a sudden you're in a dark universe where not everybody has your best interest at heart and people will take advantage of you and hurt you. So I had to deal with that at 8 years old. I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease and sacroiliac spondylitis when I was 13 and put on opiate medications at age 14. And while I was in school, I was horrendously bullied. It was pretty tough times. And maybe because I was a Jehovah's Witness, I didn't salute the flag. I didn't celebrate any holidays, and it kind of marked me out as different. So people, saw me as different and picked on me, singled me out. So yeah, I was put on opiate medications at age 14 and ended up becoming dependent on these medications for my well-being. It treated the pain really well. For those of you who don't know, arthritis is pretty painful, and Crohn's disease is like arthritis of the intestine. So it's pretty heavy. And let's see. So I was put on these opiate medications, hated school, hated the teachers, didn't like learning, and just dropped out in 9th grade. And ended up becoming really dependent on these opiate substances. At that time, I went to work and worked a few jobs, but I was in a fist fight at age 21, where this guy had steel-toed boots on. He kicked me in the face 3 times with steel-toed boots. And I went to the doctor the next day and they said, hey, if that guy had put 3 more pounds of pressure behind that last kick, you'd die. It'd be no more. So that caused me to question everything at that point at age 21. And up to that point, I had come to believe that I was stupid, that I was going nowhere in life. I had developed all of these self-confidence issues, self-esteem issues. And I decided, okay, so I believe I'm going nowhere in life, but I almost died, right? And my life could be taken at any moment. That was a realization. So I started saying, okay, I'm going to question these beliefs about myself. And am I really stupid? Is that a true, objective reality? And does anybody want to pop in and ask questions? I just don't want to ramble too much.
Well, I have questions for you. And one of the things that I want to know is, as you moved into your near-death experience, How did you let go of that pain? And how did God, that limitless love, really help you let go of that pain from childhood? And how do you still maybe struggle with it as a human being? Because that's part of my story too.
Mm. Yeah. So I would call it quantum forgiveness. So that's the title of a course that I'm creating, quantum forgiveness, but it's the kind of forgiveness that's absolute, like not holding on to even a little shred of the resentment, just a total letting it go, absolute forgiveness. And the limitless love helped me come to that point, because for most of my life I wasn't even close to ready, to embark on that kind of a journey.
Yeah, and it's so deep and it changes people's lives, like you said, that abuse, that safety. Is that part of what you felt on the other side, was like finally safe?
No,
No.
no. Oddly enough, so like in 2014, I died from a heroin overdose.
Yes.
And part of it was kind of peaceful, in the sense that when I was on the other side, I was standing next to my dead body and I was looking at it, and I wasn't weirded out. It wasn't strange. It was just like this normal thing. I was dead. I knew I was dead, and I was looking at myself, and it wasn't anything weird about it. But the experience that I had wasn't peaceful. I was shown to like basically the future, and it was a future reality where I wouldn't exist. Like I had died, and I was shown all of the people that I could have helped, all of the good that I could have done. But hey, now that's not going to happen because you passed away.
So I've heard a few drug overdose near-death experiences in person, not online, that were kind of ominous like that. Do you think it was like almost a shaking you or a waking you up moment of, hey, you could die, and this is literally what life will be?
Definitely. It felt like a kick in the stomach. And that's what I needed, because it gave me the strength and the determination to do whatever was necessary to overcome the addiction.
Wow.
Branden, I want to ask, so you were bullied and you had all of these false beliefs before your NDE. When you had the NDE, what did you think about yourself then? Did you get to see the truth about yourself, that you were not all of those things that you had believed before?
Not really. No, that came after, through, I like to call it a spiritual initiation. But it was a process that I went through with the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And that's what introduced me to the concept of forgiveness and other concepts about overcoming fear, daily prayer, a non-negotiable daily ritual that, helped me ground me on and move forward on a daily basis. But really, it was after the NDE that I was really able to confront those things and overcome them.
I love that, because, one of the things I write about and talk about is that people don't have to have a near-death experience. They can go through a 12-step program and have a full awakening. That it really does. The first thing is like, you're out of control, like you don't control anything, God does. And so I think your near-death experience probably gave you some of that feeling of, oh, this is out of my control. There is a higher power. Was that part of your first step?
Yes, totally. Like learning to rely on spirit, not trying to control everything. I had to give up judgment of myself, of other people. And it feels good, not having to be in a place of judging others or holding things against people, taking things personally. Just feeling comfortable in my own skin. It's wonderful.
So explain your near-death experience a bit more. This wake-up call. What was the sensation like? Just take us there.
Yeah, so I was waiting in my mother's apartment for the guy to get there to bring me some stuff. I had been in a vicious cycle of taking too much of the opiates. I was prescribed opiates. I'd take too much, and it was treating my emotional pain. So I was in a cycle, and I'm in withdrawals for 3 days, and the withdrawals are just like, it just feels absolutely terrible. Like all of the anxieties in my mind screaming at the top of their lungs. Any problem that I had in my life was right there in front of my eyes. And I can't think straight. My mind is cloudy. And I'm moving around in my chair. And it seems like time is standing still, waiting for this guy to show up. Like, is this guy ever going to get here? Am I ever going to be able to get this substance so that I can use it and feel calm? And finally, the guy gets there and I do the stuff, and it's like steam rolling off a hot, steam rolling off some water in midsummer, with the sun beating down on the water. Just the stress just evaporated off my body. And finally, I was able to settle down and it felt good. But then I realized I was dying, and boom, I'm standing next to my body. So I was shown the future, basically. It was a future reality where I didn't exist. So I was shown all of these people that I could have helped, I could have been there for. That wouldn't happen. All of the friends that I could have made, the relationships in my family that I could have healed, like the marriage that I could have had, the babies that I could have had, image after image after image after image after image. And every time it was like, after that image, that's not going to happen. Right? You're not going to help those people. You're not going to have that baby. You're not going to marry that woman. And then I was shown all of the people that were affected by my death. And by the way, there was a presence there with me while this was happening. And it was like this presence was showing me these things. So then I was shown like all the people that were affected by my death, the conversations on the telephone, the funeral, and in particular, my mother coming into the room. And I was in her apartment when all of this was happening, and I got the drugs. And she comes in the room and she sees my dead body on her couch, and it's all discolored, right, with pus running out of it, some crusty pus. And she says, "My baby, my little baby, oh my God, no, no, no." She walks over to the body. She takes a closer look. My baby, oh my God, my baby, my baby. And then she had all of the memories of me raising me, all of the tender memories raising me as a little kid. First steps, first foods. And I was showing all of that and felt all of it. So it wasn't, it was the most loving experience possible for me to have at that time. Because if I hadn't had that experience, I would have died, and I wouldn't have been of service to others. My son would have never been born.
It's so moving emotionally, and I'm curious how you saw it. Was it like the way I saw it was visual and I felt it. It was really deeply moving. Were you like one with your mom and one with the people?
Yeah, it was like I could experience their emotions. And it was incredible. As soon as like I was shown these things. So I say I was shown the future because it showed me these different things, and it said, now that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. But now, after this experience is over, in retrospect, I can see that I'm actually living that reality that I was shown. But I wouldn't say that I was one with these people, but I could see like their thoughts, I could feel their feelings.
There's a couple of questions in the chat. Maybe you can answer, Branden. one is, what is your understanding of God letting evil behavior make us suffer? Any thoughts?
Read it one more time, please.
What is your understanding of God letting evil behavior make us suffer?
Okay. So
Basically, why does God allow suffering? I think is what they're probably saying.
That's a great question. And I'd say it's a complicated question, but I was suffering, right? If we look at like my experience of this whole thing, I was in terrible state of suffering. And it went on for a long time. So why was that allowed, right? Well, I was able to, through having this experience, to transform the difficulty into my greatest asset. So I keep telling people that my heroin addiction really has become my greatest asset in life. So these things can be transformed, the suffering. And maybe that's part of the reason why suffering is allowed to exist in the world, is because it can teach us something, and we can transform the suffering into a strength, into a pathway of greater peace. What do you guys think?
Well, I want to hear what you think, because this is your hour. But I do want to ask about the addiction, because as an experiencer, I think a lot of us, after we've had these amazing experiences, we think we're not going to have problems. Do you still struggle with addiction, or do you feel that it was, healed from the NDE?
Yeah, the addiction, I've been 10 years of freedom. So I think it healed it. And I think that the near-death experience put me on the path, but I had to do a lot of inner work to get, past the suffering and the darkness to the other side.
And I want to ask a little bit more about the forgiveness, because everyone has their own personal journey with this. And, I never shame victims for however long it takes them, to get to forgiveness, especially with childhood stuff, because sometimes you have to, if you've been gaslit, you have to remember these things. And, the brain holds on to things in a different way in childhood. But when you really reach that point of forgiveness, it's not that it's okay. It's just that maybe you're able to help so many other people who've suffered in the same way. Like I'm able to help so many kids in schools who have been abused, and I see it before other people. So you probably have a special gift of working with people who've been abused, and how to let go of that. What is it that you say to them to let go of the shame, the pain, the anger of abuse?
There's a lot of pieces to it. But part of it is realizing that it hurts you, that the resentment hurts you, and it saps your time and your energy. And it makes it so that you can't be of service to others. And it's a waste. It's a waste of time and energy. For me, that's a key. So have you guys heard of logotherapy by Dr. Viktor Frankl? He was a Holocaust survivor. So it's basically meaning therapy, right? So up to this point, I haven't shared this with anyone. Okay. So I'm sharing this now, and it's a special treat for everyone here today. People ask me, what was the presence with you? And I always reply, I'm not sure. The presence that was with me during that near-death experience never said what it was. It didn't say, hey, I'm Jesus. Hey, I'm God. I'm Buddha, X, Y, and Z. No, nothing. It just was there. So people ask me, well, what was that presence? And I've always said, I'm not sure. It never identified itself. But are you guys familiar with the term logos? So I think that that's what this thing was. And on a familiar level, like logos, well, this thing is everywhere, right? Logos. On a familiar level, it's in psychology, right? Psychology, biology, all of these logies, right? Psychology, the logos, right? So at that kind of a level, it means an account of something. And if you go a little bit deeper, it's connected to the word logic. Okay, so you have biology, psychology, etc., which is an account of something. Then you go a little bit deeper and you have the word logic. So that's rationality, judgment, and understanding, right? Logic. Well, let's go a little bit deeper. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word, no, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. John 1:1. What is this word that they're saying in John 1:1? Logos. Okay, let's go a little bit deeper. Greek philosophy, Heraclitus, 6th century fragments, talks about a metaphysical order of things where everything is one and opposites balance out through interchanges, balanced interchanges. Okay, so this is something that's really old that people have been talking about for a long time. That's my point. And the bottom line is that there's a divine order to things, and that we can find our purpose and become spiritually initiated to become an agent of divine intelligence. So there's a plan, right? I was shown the future and now I'm living it. There's a plan that exists at a deep level where we can be living a better version of ourselves. You might call it an alternate reality, an alternate timeline, whatever you want to call it, but there's this logos, right? A conscious presence that is trying to put us on the path. And I believe that that's really what this thing was. It was like the logos that people have talked about. Phileo of Alexandria talked about this. A lot of different philosophers throughout history, but anyways, it's like this divine plan. So if you want to move into the divine plan and live as a better version of yourself. So for me, it's the divine plan for me is to experience a deep fulfillment in life and to be of service to other people, to help them through the challenges that they're facing. But I can't hold on to resentment in order to, accomplish that meaning that I have now after this near-death experience. Like I was given a meaning, and that meaning has given me the power to be able to move past the addiction and to get rid of all that crap that was on the inside of me and the resentments, because I couldn't be of service to other people full of resentment. This guy molested me. I hated him for it. It zapped me of my time and energy. I hope that answers your question. Kind of a rant, I know, but.
No, it's awesome. And I'd just like to hear about your journey and integration after the near-death experience. Like, what was it like initially? Did you change? Did you see things differently and have kind of abilities that a lot of near-death experiencers have?
Yeah, I'm able to, pick up on the thoughts of other people, their emotions, even see spirits occasionally. UFOs, I see UFOs. I receive messages in dreams and things. So the answer to that is definitely yes, but it hasn't been all sunshine and roses. I've had to go through a process of spiritual refinement over the past 10 years in order to get to where I am now. But now I went from having, no friends to being surrounded by wonderful, loving people. no money in the bank to having a successful business. Living in a crappy little apartment to buying my own house. Bought my own car. I have a garden. I paint. And I'm generally happy in life now. And I'm able to be there present with other people to listen to them without judgment. And that feels wonderful. It's, I'm living my passion. I have meaning and deep fulfillment. And I'm here for a reason. And I feel like that meaning in our lives is something that's missing in a lot of cases.
Do you feel that you appreciate things more? One of the questions that is in the chat is what other experiences do you appreciate the most? So for many of us, the little things matter so much more. How have you changed after your NDE as far as what matters to you?
Hearing my son laugh, being there for another person just to listen and, not necessarily even give advice, just to hear them feels good, to be able to be in that kind of a position where I'm not like jumping to the next thought, to the next thought, to the next thought. Like, oh, I need to cure this person, or I need to, fix them. I can just be there and listen, and it brings a lot of joy, like appreciating time with my wife, instead of being obsessed about an opiate substance. Where am I going to get that next fix? And just struggling from one day to the next, and then going into withdrawals again. And I can pay attention to the things I love.
Somebody would like to know a little bit about with the addiction. What were the mechanics of how you actually stayed sober after the NDE?
So,
also I want to ask, to combine with, how much help did you have from the other side staying sober?
I think a lot of help from the other side. So, but I went into a detox facility. So I called Crisis and Counseling. It's a hotline here in Maine, and went into a detox facility for 7 days. I had to learn how to tie my shoelaces again. That was that bad. I'd been decades on this opiate substance, and I had to learn how to tie my shoelaces again. 7 days of that. Then I went into intensive outpatient services, where I went to a place where other people who had addictions met, and was there for a few months. And then I started going to AA meetings. And that's when it was more of a spiritual awakening, because that's what the purpose of the AA steps are, is to have a spiritual awakening or a spiritual experience. So went through the steps, gave it my all, because I knew that if I didn't give it my all, if I didn't find another solution, I would die and my mom would find my body. So that's what I did. Gave it my all and continued. I developed, a non-negotiable daily spiritual ritual every single day to keep myself planted on the path, and to keep my mind focused on the goal. But receiving help from the other side, intuitions, don't go there, a lot of that happening, a lot of good people coming into my life, coincidences, synchronicities.
There's a lot of questions for you, and I understand that struggle with addiction, and it sounds like you humbled yourself, like the near-death experience brought you that humility that was needed to enter a program and to really just give yourself over to the flow of life and intuition. And tell us a little bit more about, just the journey. I mean, was it kind of fun going, oh, hey, I don't go into this bar right now, or I don't go here, or I don't go to this place, or, just the journey? Did it become more childlike and fun for you?
It did. And it has been, I'm working on a business, that's fun. Working, painting, and meditation, and just, experiencing more joy and getting outside and going and doing things and just having fun. Definitely. And it's also been a lot of work. It hasn't all been easy, but it's like we can always go in another direction, no matter where we are in life. And this principle of change, everything's always changing, and we don't have to live the same way that we've lived. And we can choose to be more joyful and have fun, and focus on that, and focus on the good things in our lives, and be grateful about life.
And when you met your wife, I think a lot of people want to know, that knowing and that joy. How did you know she was your soulmate, and how did you kind of fall into that from the spirit world as you saw her? I mean, how familiar was she?
Yeah, I was praying about it, about meeting somebody, and then met her on Plenty of Fish. And I met her at the ocean, and it was a spot that I grew up as a little kid. And we met on Plenty of Fish. We went to the ocean. It was a full moon. And both of us felt like we had been guided to meet each other. And it went from there. We fell in love, and we were married, and had a baby, a year and a half ago. But there was definitely a knowingness. There were coincidences. It was like God or spirit had sent this person to me. And it's amazing when that kind of thing happens.
Agreed. And tell us a little bit more about your how you help others now in your coaching.
Yeah. So I'm a certified spiritual coach, and I work on things with people about like finding their passion and forgiveness and things like that. I'm also a business consultant, and I only work with heart-centered, genuinely like deeply good people. Like I've come to the determination, I'm not here to help everybody, and I'm not here to please everybody. And so it has to be the right fit. And I only, work with a few people at a time. But if you're heart-centered and you have some things that you want to talk about, feel free to reach out to me. And I'm sorry, but I have a major lack of energy right now. I was up all night sick. So
No, there's
I
plenty.
appreciate you guys bearing with me.
What's your spiritual practice now? How do you tell people to connect? I always say meditation, but people want to know what you do for your spiritual practice.
So gratitude has been a big part of it. It's changed over the years, but meditation, prayer, but particularly gratitude has really helped. Like it's easy to fall into negative thoughts and to get overwhelmed by life, right? So many things are happening in our lives. We're busy, and it's easy to, I feel like I have a tendency toward negative thinking, toward being stressed. But if you have I use a daily gratitude. So I go and I sit and I count my blessings. What are the things that I appreciate about my life? And then I think about that, but I also feel it. Like feel what the appreciation is like. And that is powerful, because when you do that on a daily basis and you set that time aside, you're now in the driver's seat of what direction your life is going to take and how you're going to feel. So that's what I do.
Here's a question. You mentioned that in your near-death experience felt totally normal at the time. Were you not at all surprised, astonished, delighted to become aware? Did you immediately know that you were in the real reality and getting help, guidance for returning and becoming comfortable and successful in this realm?
Can you read the last part one more time?
did you immediately know that you were in the real reality? And then did you get help, guidance for returning to this realm and becoming more comfortable and successful in this realm? And I'm going to add also, after you answer that, to define success to you now, and how is it different maybe than before your NDE?
Yeah, so when there was no strangeness to it, it's very weird. Like there I am dead and I'm standing next to my body and I'm looking at it and it's not weird to me at all. I'm not sure why, but I'm just looking at myself. It's not weird. And as far as the guidance coming back, like I begged whatever presence was there with me that had showed me that future reality and how all of these people were affected by my death. What I begged to that presence, send me back. I will do whatever is necessary to overcome this addiction so that my mom's not going to find my body and all of these people aren't going to be affected. I will do whatever is necessary. Please, please, please send me back, send me back, send me back. Then bam, that's when I was back in my body. And there definitely has been guidance on, moving into success. And you asked, how would I define success?
Yeah, how do you define success, and do you define it differently now?
Yeah, so the big thing is service, I think, to others. Like that didn't really exist for me before the NDE. The joy of giving and helping. And knowing that you're having an effect on someone, that your presence and your abilities are being utilized to help another person and to help really all of humanity. But that didn't exist for me prior to the NDE.
I understand that. And there's a couple of more questions and I want to ask, but first I don't think we have enough addicts who talk openly about before and after. And I don't think I even talked openly enough. My brain before my near-death experience was focused on what drug am I going to do next? What party? What am I going to eat? How are people perceiving me? I mean, it was very, mundane in a way. Like, am I going to take mushrooms? Am I going to take ecstasy? Am I going to go here? What am I going to wear? Like, I didn't have any of these like spiritual thoughts. Were you that limited in some ways as an addict? And did this whole like kind of consciousness just like break open because of your experience where suddenly you were as you said, you read the thoughts of others? Like I immediately felt others, so I knew I was different. Is that how you felt too?
Yeah. I didn't know anybody else who had an NDE, and nobody in my immediate circle, had any kind of like extrasensory type abilities. So it was difficult at first because who do you talk to about it? So yes, I was different, and I feel like I had been singled out somehow by Logos to accomplish some kind of mission here on planet. And I guess that makes us different,
It does. And how do you take care of your body and, this body that we use now through life so differently? People want to know like your eating habits and how you take care of yourself.
My eating habits aren't the best. They've been better, but I have to eat, well, because I have Crohn's disease, which is in remission, by the way. But so just lots of fresh vegetables, I read a book called One Spirit Medicine. I would recommend that to anybody. It has a detox diet in it, and it's kind of paleo, like all natural, and just getting away from processed foods as much as possible. But that's definitely been a factor, in keeping myself going, keeping myself happy and healthy. But I would recommend that book, One Spirit Medicine. It's great.
How have your personal relationships changed since your NDE? What were they like before, and what are they like now?
Yeah. So like I resented my father, resented my mother, was always on guard with them, worried what my dad thought of me, always wanting to, kind of impress him. And that's all gone away. I was able to, heal my relationships with my family a lot closer with my mom and dad now. It required some conversations and things. Sorry, I'm tired and not feeling well.
You're doing wonderful. You're doing wonderful. So what I love is, so you were trying to impress your dad. You
Yeah.
needed external validation. How about now? Like you don't, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you need any validation now, or, from him or anybody else?
No, I gave that up. Gave up validation. It's important for a lot of people. And maybe giving up validation isn't for everyone. But I can tell you that it's created a lot more inner peace. Not having to, I would have to tell them things like, hey, I got an A on this paper, right? Well, when I was in college, hey, I got an A on this paper because I wanted them to be proud of me. But I wanted to hear it and I wanted to be validated. Hey, you're smart. But I feel like I've kind of been able to grow out of that after the NDE, definitely.
I think that's one of the
things like that have been healed post NDE.
I think that's one of the biggest blessings of experiencing that limitless love is I think most of us, we don't need that validation anymore. That's my whole life was about validation before. But once we connect to that love, we know that we're loved without having to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. So after I went through the 12 steps, I'll share one more thing. How much time do we have left? Anybody know?
10 minutes. You're doing great.
So after the working the steps, right? Having the NDE, I was having a hard time and I'd been praying all day. And I was taking a shower after this and a presence came through the ceiling and I couldn't see anything. It was just like this, almost like a light, but not like a light that I could see with my eyes. It was like a heat, like everything was a little bit distorted and it was coming down through the ceiling and I could feel its power. Like it was this powerful being of some kind. And I started immediately like having all of these thoughts about, oh, I'm not worthy to have this experience. I'm not worthy. Look at all of these things that have happened in my past. Why would you visit me? And it could care less about those thoughts. It was like it looked through my soul like an X-ray and it penetrated every cell of my body with this pure love, pure non-judgment. It didn't care about all of those thoughts that I had. Hey, I'm not good enough. It didn't even recognize it. It just pierced right through all of that stuff as if it wasn't even there, as if it didn't even exist. And it just embraced me in this loving energy.
That's beautiful. There's one more question about, did you find that gratitude and acceptance was the main feature that brought the promises into your life?
Yes. Yep. Gratitude and acceptance. Giving up, the nonstop struggle of what life can become. Accepting things as they are and transforming them. Like, if that makes sense.
It does. And let me see if I have it right. This is how it is for me. It's like you accept what it is, but you always see the healing. I think a lot of people in the spiritual community just say, accept the child abuser, accept this, accept. No, there are ways for people to heal that I don't understand currently, and society doesn't understand. God does. God is that limitless love that can heal everything, but we currently may not be evolved enough to know how to do that, or it may not be up to me to work with everyone. You know, there might be someone else who can work with child abusers. There might be someone else who can, you know, add brain technology and brain scans that help people heal. I always hold up this belief that anyone can heal, and that's in God's hands, but I don't throw abusive people in with vulnerable populations of people. I believe that, you know, that society is still here to protect children and protect others.
Yeah, there's kind of a thin line there. But what we have to keep in mind is, like, is it tearing you up? Is it affecting your quality of life? And for me, like, I had held on to the resentment for 20 years, and it was destroying me. And it wasn't just that resentment, but it was all kinds of different resentments. Like, I had to figure out a way to let it go. Like, there's that letting it go on the one hand, but then, like you said, you don't throw people, predators, into vulnerable populations, right? But yet you still have to figure out a way to, like, in my life, I let it go, right? And it's been absolutely wonderful to be able to get out of my own way. I got out of my own way and I said, okay, enough is enough. I'm going to let this go. Period. And that's my experience. Whether or not that's for everyone, probably not.
Oh, but there's power in that, because your world is colored by something that you're hanging on to, and you start just seeing that one thing that opens you up is, like, when you let it go, you see reality more for what it is, and you can see more of the good and experience more of the good.
Yeah. I was in Plato's cave, you know, in Plato, the philosopher, wrote about a cave that everyone lives in, and they're all in shackles, and they're forced to watch shadows on the cave wall. And they're told, hey, that's reality. But no, there are these puppeteers, and they're the ones that are creating these shadows on the wall. And they're telling these people, hey, look at the shadows. And they look at the shadows, and they're chained up inside of the dark cave. And they think that that's reality, but it's really not, because you can break the shackles and you can leave the cave and you can go out into the sunlight.
Branden, somebody would like to know some tips for forgiving themselves. Why don't you answer some tips, and Trisha, your thoughts on that, and then I'm going to share something about that, because that's a big thing for all of us. It's easy to forgive others, sometimes much easier than to forgive ourselves.
So remember, I was talking about like, why forgive ourselves anyways? Why forgive anyone? Right? So first is become clear on, how is it affecting you? Like, are you motivated enough to let it go? How is it affecting your life, and how would it positively affect your life if you were to let it go? So we have to have, like, a reason, right? Can you guys hear my baby?
It's fine, no worries.
Okay. Let's see. So yeah, having a good reason to do it, first of all, and then understanding the why, right? So why did you do it? Are you willing to cut yourself some slack? Are you willing to become your own best friend, and to stop clubbing yourself over the head with judgment? Are you willing? How is it affecting you? Right? If you're not willing, and you don't realize the importance of it, then you'll never do it. Probably.
And you were just actually speaking. So for Vincent, check out the Sedona method, because I'm not sure if you realize, Branden, that you were actually saying some of what's the Sedona method, which the guy came up with when he was in, like, late stage cancer. And yeah. So Trisha, do you have any input on the self-forgiveness that you could?
I do. After my near-death experience, I saw trauma energetically in my body and in the body of other trauma survivors. And sometimes I look back and I'm like, oh, I was really like reacting from my wounds and my trauma. And I'm almost embarrassed by the way I acted. And Brandon, I had some relapse in my story. I have to forgive myself, in those early years of being so traumatized that I didn't know how to handle life at times, even after a near-death experience. And so there's deep, deep forgiveness for the young person that I was, that we're always evolving, we're always growing. And I get to a different stage and I'm always looking back and going, oh, if I would have known better then, I would have done better. But I had to keep growing. I had to keep learning and I had to keep evolving. And we're all works in progress, as they say. We are all, and one thing that happened to me, someone who helped me stay sober was actually a cousin who had a heroin addiction, and he got very, very sober and, lived 15 years, just a wonderful life. But he said, Tricia, any bit of sobriety gives you something to look back on and remember. And it's something that you will always return to. And so, just a reminder, we're all addicted to something, even if it's cell phones, we're all working on some kind of addiction. Just be gentle with yourself and focus on continued evolution and continued growth.
Yeah. And I want to add, and then we're going to have to wrap this up. When I was outside of my body, looking down at myself was the first time that I had compassion for myself. And I was able to look at myself and to see like a little kid, in their walker running into the walls and stuff. They don't know what they're doing. And that's how I learned there was nothing to forgive once I had compassion for myself and saw I'm just like that little kid that doesn't know what he's doing. And and that's honestly the biggest thing that I try to always connect with is that compassion that I felt when I was with God, looking at that person, that body below, is that compassion. So I think that's one of the best ways that we can forgive ourselves. Brandon,
Forgive them for they know not what they do. Forgive them for they know not what they do.
Yes.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, and I want you to, I'm so glad that you came, and we want to have more discussion with you. We have so much in common, as you all know, you and I have so much in common. And I want you to rest up, and we'll have more people. They can put questions for you later in Hawaiian Islands, plus I put your Facebook page. Okay. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.